A year before her death, they were being pursued. Lain and Jessica ran as fast as they could through the fresh afternoon snow. Lain was laughing, though there was a nervous chill in her voice, energy and panic colliding. The sound of footfalls followed close behind, laughter too, deep and ringing out, derisive, the sound of ragged breath being drawn, yells and catcalls. Snow muffled much of the noise on the quiet street until they tore through at full speed, barely ahead of their pursuers. Something white streaked past, narrowly missing Jessica's head. Behind her, voices exclaimed in disappointment. Lain cackled at their near miss and yelled names back at their pursuers. Jess turned her head to see. Peter had thrown the snowball and, as a result, had fallen away from the others. He was smiling as he collapsed onto a snowbank, panting. She was now looking forward again, making sure not to slip as the chase continued. One down. My God, they were persistent. Lain yanked on her sleeve, and together they dove down a steep staircase descending between houses. In the newly formed snow and ice, unsalted, it was a death trap. Luckily, it was a death trap they knew very well. She caught the amusement in Lain's eyes just before they leaped the first set of stairs to the landing below. Thump, forward, breath, crouch, and leap. Repeat. For Jessica, though, the excitement of this chase was wearing out. No energetic music, no heroics. Just legs, hurting from running through soft snow, not to mention that jumping these landings seemed the most ideal way to tempt death. What had begun as a winter thrill was quickly growing old. Above them, they heard a cry of alarm, followed by the smack of clothing and skin on smooth ice. They paused and looked back up the stairway. When Lain started laughing this time, Jessica joined right in. Jono looked embarrassed, somehow having wrapped himself around the side railing, upside down, his face lying against the ground. He seemed embarrassed, but not seriously hurt. His friend, the third pursuer, looked at him with a cold expression of disgust. Actually, she had never seen this boy before today. Whose friend was he? He was shorter, stocky, and large beneath his puffy winter jacket. His eyes were difficult to see through the mat of his light hair. In fact, she was too far away to be sure, but his face was almost completely blank. There seemed to be no laughter in his expression, anywhere. Enough, guys, Lain called up. We're getting tired. Let's just say you won and go home. The third boy chose this moment to act. He must have been hiding the last snowball in his hands, just waiting for the chase to slow. The impact pain was exquisite, a brand new universe. Jessica had never been struck in the face. In fact, she had never been hit anywhere with much force. She was an only child. There had been no sibling fights to build up her immunity. The finely crafted ice ball seemed to split the difference across all the years, uncaring. Sparks of light flashed, and when her brain reassumed outside input, she found herself crying and halfway to the ground, held in her friend's arms. She looked up through the tears and saw the deadly stairway Lain had saved her from tumbling down. Her cheek was burning hot and freezing cold. Beside her, Lain was screaming at the boy. This new boy, who stood there, grinning, who had almost broken her nose just now for the sake of fun. To his left, Jono was almost free of the railing, but he wouldn't look at either of them. Lain yelled to him, but he wouldn't meet their eyes. Coward. The mystery boy walked toward the edge of the stairs and picked up a large block of ice. He lifted up the huge shard, grunting with the effort. Peter was just ascending the stairs above him, asking what the hell he was doing, and the boy glanced up at him. Lain pulled her away then. Together, they leapt the last landing. Her head still spun, but they ran across the street and through an alley. They emerged on the main street, Lain scanning wildly for any other person, anyone who could help them. They both understood now that the game had changed. Nobody was around. The snow must have scared the whole city indoors. They ran to their favorite corner store, Dollar Grow, where the owner had known them since they were children. He had seen them grow up and away from daily purchases of 1-cent candies and chocolate bars, and had always smiled warmly as he gave them their change. The girls threw open the door and ran inside. Sam smiled as he looked up from his small black and white television, then frowning, perplexed at their panting exhaustion. "We're being chased," Lain said simply, and it was enough. Sam pointed to a door that Jess had never noticed, in the back. "Goes to the alley. Be careful," he replied. "Are they almost here?" Lain told him yes, and together they headed for the door as he picked up the phone, hopefully to call the police. Maybe this wasn't his first ninering experience. They opened the door and peeked out, seeing only white snow and the walls of other buildings, the hill leading up to the other street, all clear. The girls exited and closed the door quietly behind them. Lain looked at Jessica's face, touched it softly where the ice had struck, pain shooting down the nerves. Lain looked livid, her lip curled down as she examined the damage from the ice ball. She planted a kiss on the bruise, and seemed about to speak when they heard the faint jingle of the front door again, muffled words as Sam greeted someone. They listened, straining their ears. Only soft voices. Together, they motioned with their heads to head down the alley, and then laughed at their perfect synchrony. "Jinx," Lain mouthed, and just waved it off as they started moving. The bell tinkled again from the front of the store, followed by a hard slam and crunching snow. Both girls stopped suddenly. "Where did you go? Don't make me get my car, Niners!" Get his car? Lain whipped back toward Jessica, her jaw dropped open. "He's crazy," she mouthed, her eyes wide. Jessica couldn't bring herself to respond. The bestial quality of his yell reverberated through her mind. What could make him yell like that? How could this matter so much? They weren't even in grade 9 yet. What had they gotten themselves into? Lain noticed a fire escape leading up to the top of Dollar Grow and pointed to the alley, mouthed, "Keep watch." Jess nodded, though mostly she wanted to grab Lain's arm and pull her far, far away from this crazy situation. Lain dashed quietly up the fire escape and vanished over the edge of the rooftop. Jess peeked around the corner of the building, but saw nothing. No movement, no approaching crazy boys. "You'll only make it worse tomorrow." Somewhere off in the distance, she heard sirens. What followed happened so quickly. Lain peeked over the roof, this is certain. Lain saw the boy pacing in front of the store. His ice block leaned against the wall of the Dollar Grow. This is certain. From her vantage point, high on the roof, perhaps she saw the police approaching. She may have seen Jessica's bruised face in her mind. She may have seen him calling more friends. Or she may have seen something just lying nearby, ready. From high above, Lain may have seen pure red. Jessica heard only a soft scrape from somewhere atop the building, a clinking, and then a brutal cry from the front of the store, like pain and surprise, like something else entirely, and Lain's footsteps slamming back down the stairs. Lain's face, full of intent and shock and laughter, full of love, trying to contain her wild amusement without success. Rushing past, she grabbed Jessica's hand and pulled her away towards home. "Lain, what did you do?" Jess asked as they ran, and Lain laughed aloud, only squeezing her hand in response. The sirens grew louder as the girls ran off into the falling snow. "Lain, what did you do?"